with Tao. Clarity is not reality. There are two things, clarity and reality. Clarity comes through the mind, through the head, and reality is the dimension of the heart. Head gives you clarity. Head gives you clarity, and because of this clarity, much confusion comes into being, because head defines clearly everything, marks the boundaries, makes the maps, gives the clear definitions. With reason, everything is cleared, is clear cut. And when things are clear cut, there is no weakness, no mystery is allowed in clarity. We do not understand what damage clarity has done to us as far as inner harmony, bliss, and oneness is concerned. Much confusion in life comes through clarity. Clarity defines everything, creates the boundaries, creates the maps, clearly defines the roles of every individual. With reason, everything is clear cut. There is no weakness, no mystery is allowed in clarity. All that is vague is rejected. Only the clear is left, and clear is real. Reason gives you a clarity, and because of clarity, a great misunderstanding arises. Indeed, clarity is not reality. Reality is always unclear, vague. Concepts are clear. Reality is mysterious. Concepts are rational. Reality is irrational. A simple example. One moment you say that I am thirsty, and 10 minutes after you say I am not thirsty. You ask someone, I am thirsty, can I get a glass of water? But the person who you ask for water gets a call, and the person attends to the call. In the meantime, you happen to get the water yourself, and then when the call is finished, the person brings the water for you. You said, I am not thirsty. I am not thirsty. So the person says, but you just told me I am thirsty, and you are saying I am not thirsty. What is this? This is mystery. This is the way life is. One moment things keeps on changing. One moment you are hungry, next moment you are not. Words are clear, logic is clear, life is not clear. This is life. This is how you live life. One moment you are in love with someone, next moment you are not. Because this is how life is. One moment you are feeling cold, you put on the blanket. Next moment you are feeling hot, you remove the blanket. You are flowing with the existence. Life means flowing with the existence. You are in harmony. You are flowing with the seasons, with the needs of the body. Similar things, examples can be given. In life, life is real and it does not need clarity. The beauty of life lies in its vagueness. Clarity is dead. Words are clear, logic is clear, life is not clear. Heart gives you melting, allows you to melt in weakness. One moment, a lover says that I want to make love, and he prepares himself for her. But then the other person is busy with something and not ready at that moment, because this is something that is to be done in the moment. Not that you are hungry now and someone says, I am making the food, when it is finished then I will serve you. These things are vague. You need it now in this very moment. So you do something, you eat something, or you get something from outside, or when it comes to love making, you do something, and that desire, that instant desire or need is finished. Heart words are clear. The heart gives you a melting into vagueness, a melting vagueness. It reaches reality more intimately, but it is not clear. Heart reaches the intimacy, but it is not clear. And because we have chosen clarity as the goal, we have been missing the reality, and life becomes chaos and conflict. You must have unclear eyes to enter the reality again. You must be vague. You must be ready to enter into something which cannot be conceptualized. If you conceptualize life, the essence of life is lost. You must be vague. You must be ready. You must be ready to enter into something which cannot be conceptualized, into something which is not logic, into something which is staggering and real, staggering and alive. Clarity is dead. Once something is clear, that is clear. It remains fixed. Life is flux, constantly moving. Nothing is fixed in life. Nothing remains the same the next moment. As I said, one moment you are hungry, next moment you are not. One moment you need to make love, next moment you do not. So how can you be clear? If you insist too much on clarity, you will lose the contact with life. That is what has happened. We have lost the contact with life. No one has contact with life. The words are mind stuff. Word or mind stuff is not a good translation for original Sanskrit word chit. In Sanskrit, the word is used chit. Now, the Adi Shankar says in Atma Shatkam, Mano Buddh Ahankar Chittani Naham. Mano buddh ahankar chittaninaham. I am neither man nor the ego sense, nor the storehouse of the memory, nor chit. Chit belongs to the mind, but English translation mind stuff is not really the correct translation, and it cannot express. The basic thing is to come back to the heart center. But how to come back to it? You have to put the mind stuff or chit in such inexpressible fineness above and below your heart. I have explained there are 3 spaces, one above the heart center, one below the heart center, and the heart center itself is a space. So mind stuff is not the real, does not explain what the Sanskrit word chit means. But in English, we have no clear equivalent. So it is good in a way. It carries the meaning not of the mind, but of the mind stuff, the contents of the mind. Mind means mention, thinking, thoughts, and mind stuff has background upon which these things float. 2 things, the content and how do you know the content. The content can only be, let's say there's something you want to write, and where do you write? You need a background. You need a backdrop, and on that you write. So that backdrop is the mind stuff, and the contents are 2 different things. Mind means mentation, thinking, thoughts, and mind stuff means the background upon which these things, the mentation, thoughts, thinking float. Just as in the sky there are clouds that move, clouds are the thoughts and sky is the background. The sky can be, in case of the mind, chit, sky is the background and clouds are the thoughts. So sky is the background upon which thoughts move. That sky, that consciousness has been called as mind stuff, the consciousness. Your mind can be without thoughts. Then when mind is without thought, then it is chit, then it is pure mind. When it has thoughts floating on the sky, it is mind. So difference between chit and mind. When your mind is clear without any thoughts, then it is chit. And when there are thoughts floating, it is impure. If your mind can be without thoughts, then it is very subtle. The subtlest thing possible in existence, you cannot conceive of a more subtle possibility. Consciousness is the most subtle thing. So when there are no thoughts in the mind, you have pure mind, and that purity of the mind is consciousness. The pure mind can move towards the heart. It is the consciousness that moves towards the heart. not the purity of the mind. So once you understand this, like a sky and clouds floating in the sky. Clouds floating, the sky is the backdrop. Without the sky being there as a background, you cannot see the clouds in the sky. So mind stuff is like the sky that acts as background upon which thoughts float, and we can see thoughts floating. When there are no thoughts floating, the background is clear. That background is consciousness, like a pure sky without clouds has a different color. It's a blue color, and that is consciousness, and this can move to the heart center. Pure mind can move towards the heart. The impure mind cannot. By impurity, I do not mean anything, any immoral thoughts in the mind. By impurity is meant all thoughts, good or bad. We cannot, it is said that we should not have the impure thoughts, but thoughts are simply thoughts, and both are impurity. Impure mind cannot. The pure mind can move towards the heart, but impure mind cannot. By impurity, it is not meant wrong thoughts or impure thoughts. All thoughts are impurity as far as the mind is concerned. Even if you are thinking of God, it is impurity because the cloud is moving. Pure or impure thoughts, whatever it be the nature, they are like clouds that are floating in the background of consciousness. Cloud can be white, but the cloud is there and purity of the space is not there. Whatever be the color of the sky, whatever be the color of the clouds, dark, white, red, or any color, means the sky is full of clouds. The background, the sky is full of clouds floating, different colors. So in the background of consciousness, all types of thoughts, good and bad, right and wrong, pure and impure, are floating. Then consciousness is not clear and it cannot reach the heart center. Even if you are thinking of God, it is a thought. The nature of the thought is not important. A cloudless sky is not there. A cloud may be black or any other color moving in the mind, or cloud may be white, does not matter. A prayer moving in the mind may be beautiful, but in both cases, the purity of the mind is not there. Whether there is a prayer moving or anything, it is impure, clouded. Even the prayers becloud the mind, becloud the consciousness. And if the mind is clouded, you cannot move to the heart. This is very subtle to understand. We are told to pray. This is the priestly way of living, guided by the priests, rituals, and so. but it is not the reality. This has to be understood, because with thoughts you cling to the head. Whether it is a prayer, whether it is a thought about cloud, or some other thoughts which you consider as wrong, they are thoughts. It has to be understood. Thoughts are not the roots, and unless thoughts are the roots, and those roots have to be rooted out, and only then the consciousness can reach to the, or the energy can reach to the heart center. Thoughts are the roots, and unless those roots are cut, you cannot fall back to the heart center. The child remains in the heart only up to the moment that thoughts begin to crystallize in him. That thoughts starts floating in the mind. Then they take root. Then through education, culture, and many other things, they become rooted. It is the upbringing and everything nourishes and nurtures the roots of the thoughts, and many other things starts growing. They become rooted, then by and by, consciousness moves from the heart to the head. The consciousness can remain in the head only if there are thoughts floating or emotions. This is the basic. If there are no thoughts, consciousness immediately drops back to the original innocence of the heart. I spoke of innocence. Thoughts are prejudiced. Innocence is not, is pure. Existence is purity, the innocence. And innocence is wisdom. It comes through meditation, and when it blossoms into you as bliss, life becomes nectarine. The child remains in the heart only up to the moment that thoughts crystallize, that thoughts start floating in the mind, and this is what begins to happen. The consciousness can remain in the head only if there are thoughts. This is basic. If there are no thoughts, consciousness immediately falls back to the original innocence of the heart. Hence, there is so much emphasis on meditation, so much emphasis is on non-thinking, on thoughtless awareness, on choiceless awareness, or on Buddha's right mindfulness, which is just mindfulness without any thought, just remaining aware. What remains then when you are aware? When you are aware, what remains then? A very great phenomena happens, because when the roots are cut, immediately consciousness drops back to the heart, to the original place where it had been. You become innocent once again. This is conscious innocence. This is what Jesus said, only one who can enter, who is childlike. There is a process. You are born innocent, full of innocence, and that innocence now is unconscious. The innocence, the nudity of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden was unconscious. They were not conscious of their nudity or nakedness. So a process has to begin. And unless you are aware of your actions, you are conscious, the process of transformation does not happen. So the very process that Adam and Eve were expelled from the Garden of Eden is, according to Sufis, is God's way of process of transformation for the man from unconscious innocence to conscious innocence. In reality, you see, when you enter into act of love making, you are unconscious. Unconsciously, you are entering into it. And when you enter into it consciously, for the process of transformation, unconsciously you are entering guided by the lust and desires. Consciously you are entering into the act of love making for the process of transformation. That is the basic difference. You have lived your life guided by desires, lust and everything. When your life begins not guided by lust, desire or anything, but consciously you are entering and you ask a question, why are you entering into the act of sex? Because that energy that you are born with needs to be transformed. It must attain to fruition. And when it attains to fruition, the blissfulness comes. You are entering into the act of sex consciously. This is what was it's a Sufi, in Zen we call it, God expelled Adam and Eve from the Garden of Eden for the simple reason that they disobeyed God. God had told them not to eat the fruits from the tree that grew in the center, but they disobeyed because of the Satan, and then they were expelled. This is a parable that needs to be understood according to Zen, according a cone. According to Sufism, it is the way God wanted man to evolve from unconscious living to conscious living. The process of transformation really is moving from unconscious living. Why do you eat? Unconsciously we go on stuffing ourselves, to conscious everything that you do in life. It is out of consciousness, out of awareness. Then the space below the heart center, where there are three psychocenters, the earth center, the water center, and the solar plexus. The trinity of these three centers, how the energy moves and transforms, and your unconscious act becomes conscious act, innocence is regained, and you enter into the heart space once again that was given to you. Enough for now.